Okay.
Here we go.
So, I just wanted to ask you about any memories of. Well, we talked last night,
Hmm.
and you told me the story about the goose.
Right.
Can you tell that one more time to me?
Okay.
And pretend like you've never told me before.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a fence that ran down to the lake. It actually was just straight west of where we lived on the farm there. And the sheep were getting through the fence, right where they went into, right next to the lake. And Dad asked Lola and I to go down and fix it. So we got on a horse and took a hammer and pliers and some wire, and we went down. We were working on the fence. Well, when we got there, there was a duck, mallard duck, no, it was a teal duck flying around, a little shot it. He only had 3 shotgun shells. So there's go number 1 shell. And while we were working, a small flock of geese came in and landed just the other side of a straw stack. The geese flew in, and we dropped the tools we were working with. Lowell took the shotgun and these 2 shells. And we kept a stack between us and the geese, and we snuck up to the stack. And I waited there, and Lowell would go around the stack and look at the geese, and he'd come back and smile at me. Oh, he used to tickle. And then he went around, and I heard a boom. So I went running around the stack, and there the goose was stumbling across the field towards the lake, and Lowell was looking for his shotgun shell. He'd had it in his shirt pocket and lost it when he was chasing the goose. We found the shotgun shell, and he put it in the shotgun and took after the goose. He ran beside it for a little while, and then the goose turned to peck at him, and he shot it. About blew the neck right off, but he got his goose, and he was so tickled. We took the goose back to where we were fixing the fence and laid the goose down there. Lowell would drive in his staple and turn around and he'd pet that goose. And then he'd do something else, he'd turn around and pet that goose. Finally, we got the fence fixed, and I got on the horse and rode back to home. And at that time, there was a trail from the chapel into Dad's home there, right through kind of corner of the property. And Lowell got off the horse and said, "You take the horse around, I'm going to take the goose through the middle." So he was carrying the goose through the middle. He was only 12, I think, at the time. And our oldest sister, Maureen, saw him through the kitchen window. And she said, "Mother, look, Lowell's got a duck as big as a turkey." And he was so proud of that goose. He loved to hunt with a shotgun. That was his big thing. Is there any more?
That's great. No, that's perfect. He did love his guns.
He did. He loved the shotgun especially.
Yeah. Do you have any other hunting stories with Lowell?
Well, we did a lot of hunting of partridges and sharp-tailed grouse, and then we even went clear to brooks to hunt pheasants. And we had an enjoyable time. He had a dog that he trained to retrieve the birds for him. And he had got this dog when he was little, and he had trained it and worked with it. And sometimes when he was sneaking up on a pond of ducks, he'd get down on his stomach and crawl up, and the dog would be right there beside him on his stomach and crawl right alongside him. And when he shot, then the dog would run to get to whatever he shot at. But he did a good job of training that dog. We had him around for a long time.
That's great.
We hunted.
The dog's name? Doesn't matter.
I think Lab, I think they call him. He's a Labrador dog.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
But we hunted partridges and sharp-tailed grouse in the area.
Mm-hmm.
He enjoyed that very much.
What's your, that might be your earliest memory, but what's your earliest memory of your brother Lowell?
Oh dear, I'd be too young to really, because I was only 6 when he shot the goose.
Yeah, that's probably one of the.
And he was just my older brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's,
What, I guess you and Lowell were, like you said, you were 6 years apart,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I can relate having a brother the same distance.
Right.
So when you're little, it's a little, there's quite a distance there.
There is, yeah.
But did you feel like you were pretty good friends?
Yes, because our oldest brother is kind of, he didn't like hunting and fishing as much. He was more the serious farming type. But Lowell and I both liked hunting and fishing, and so we were together more. And Donna, of course, was in between. She was, I think, 2 years older than I.
Mm-hmm.
But I was close to Lowell as the things that we did quite a bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Okay, let's move on to something else. Do you tell me about some Christmas memories that you might have growing up in your home with your mother and father?
Well, we when I was young, the house was only one story, and so when we slept on in the living room actually,
Mm-hmm.
on a bed there. And Christmas Eve, we were getting ready to go to bed, and in between the living room and the dining room was kind of an archway, but a square archway. And Lowell said, "Let's string a rope across this archway, so that when Santa Claus comes and falls down, then we can get all the toys." We didn't do it, but he had a good idea there. And I can remember some of the things I got as toys, but I can't remember beyond what Lowell had: a single shotgun, single gauge, single barrel shotgun, single shot shotgun. And he did a lot of hunting with that whenever he could.
Yeah.
In fact, some grouse came in and flew into the trees right there by the house, and Lowell slipped out with a shotgun and got two or three of them right there, right close.
Fun. What did your mother do to make Christmas special?
Oh boy, the decorations, I suppose, and then the meal, of course, was always special. Turkey. We didn't. We had ducks and geese during the regular time, so we didn't want those for Christmas.
Yeah.
But she would try and hide the presents so we couldn't find them. And I don't know anything really special about it, but I don't know, the decorations, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Any Christmas traditions that you remember?
Not really, no. Not as
How
far
about
as
your dad? Did your dad do anything special on Christmas?
we had to go do the chores,
Yeah.
no matter if it's Christmas or not. We always had to go and feed the stock. No, Dad didn't have anything special for the Christmas time. No.
He just paid for it.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right. Tell me some memories that you might have of your father. What can you tell me? I mean, like I said, I was pretty young when Grandpa passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But what lessons did you learn from your dad?
Well, Dad went through the Depression, and that was when the family was young, and so it was tough to raise the children during that time. And he was very careful with his money, with the things that we had. I was telling my wife just the other day that we very seldom had new nails to drive. We'd go and find an old board with nails in, we'd drive the nails out and take the nails and straighten them and use them again. And it was just things like that that you used as much as you could use it. And as far as lumber goes, usually we built with old lumber or poles or something like that. Dad was good at building things. He built a big pig barn, you might remember that, and a place for the outside pigs, and then another place for the horses, and a big hay barn right by the horses there. And he was good at repairing the equipment. He worked with horses mostly when I was young. And Dad loved horses. I think we had 20, 25 head of horses that we worked with. And I don't know, it took quite a bit to keep that up.
Yeah.
And we had had a thrashing machine. And I remember it run with the gas engine, but they originally run it with the steam engine. And Dad would work with the thrasher and the steam engine and keep everything adjusted. I remember going around that thrashing machine and adjusting belts, adjusting how the grain was doing, and taking care of that, while the rest of us were working to bring the bundles in to put through the thrasher. But Dad was an old-time worker, you might say.
Yeah.
That was his life, was a farm.
Yeah. How much land did Grandpa have at the height of the farm? Do you remember?
2 sections.
2 sections. And how big is a section?
It's a mile square.
Mile square. So
Yeah.
he had 2 of those sections.
Yes.
That's a lot of land.
It was quite a bit of land for what equipment we had.
Yes. So on the farm, what was the main source of income for Grandpa?
Well, the sheep were a steady income. We had a few cows, and we had milk cows we milked, and shipped the milk to the cheese factory. And the grain, that was a little harder because you had to go through the thrashing machine and then into a bin, and then you had to come out with a wagon with a team of horses and shovel it into the wagon and drive it 5 miles down to Glenwood to an elevator. And so grain was important in a way, but it wasn't the main thing that we would actually live on, you'd say. And then we had chickens and eggs to sell and things like that. But I think sheep and some cattle is
How many head of sheep would Grandpa have?
about 500 head.
500 head of sheep?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's quite a bit for then, but
Yeah.
to the big timers, it wasn't that much.
Yeah. What were some of the chores that you remember doing as a kid? Was there something that you specifically did more than some of the other chores?
I guess feeding the sheep and the pigs. We had quite a few pigs, and it was in a fairly big barn, and the grain was chopped and blown in upstairs in the overhead, and then we'd had to take it from there and go around and feed each pen of pigs and water them. And the sheep was the same way. We had them in a big shed, and when they lambed out, then we had to put the mother sheep and the little lamb with her, and then we had to go there and give them so much hay and so much water to each of them. And it took quite a while to take care of that.
Yeah.
And that, of course, was some of the responsibility of the boys, because we couldn't do any much else with repairing machinery or anything. We just worked like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. When was the church built? How old were you when the church was built?
It was built in about 41.
About 41.
I was born in 33, so I'd be 7.
Okay. So what memory do you have of the church being constructed?
Well,
Your dad's involvement with that?
Dad didn't do very much on the actual construction. I remember Ben Cardwell was the supervisor. They started on the base of the church, like the foundation and the floor, and my friend and I decided we would like to go and help him earn some money. So we went there and we pounded nails for a couple of hours. And then we asked how much we'd earn. He said, "Oh, that's your donation to the church." So we didn't earn a thing, but at least we'd worked on the church. Yeah. They went up in the hills and got the poles and set up a sawmill there at Hartley, and cut the lumber for the church right there.
Oh, they did?
Right beside the...
So from the raw poles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was built right from the beginning, and they did a good job of it because it lasted well. Did really well,
Yeah.
as you noticed when you saw it again there.
Yeah. So the fact that it's still standing
Yeah.
says something about it.
It did.
Do you know much about your father's desire to build a chapel instead of a gym? Is that a story that you know anything about?
Dad didn't have much to do with sports. That wasn't his thing. It was mainly work on the farm and the church. And I don't know how much he opposed the gym, but the chapel was built so that they could hold services in the gym until they get enough money to build a chapel. And then on the front of the chapel towards the roadway, there was a kind of, if you ever looked at it there, you'd see a ridge build up, and that's where they're going to add the chapel on. And so it was there, it was planned to be, but the ward got too small before they could get the money to build it. In fact, one of the bishops started saving money towards building that chapel, but it just didn't work. So, but they did well. I remember holding church service in the schoolhouse.
Okay.
When I was very young, and I don't know how many years we went to the schoolhouse as church, sitting in the desks and that, and then they built the chapel or the church house at the same time that we were meeting in the schoolhouse.
Okay. Yeah.
But that memory comes back quite clearly.
Yeah, that's neat that you had that. Let's see, going back to the origins of the village of Hartley.
Mm-hmm.
tell me what you know about that and how your grandfather Hiram had a part in that with your dad.
They were living at Mountain View. That's where they came to from Rockland. And Dad managed a store there when it was active and before it burned down. And then they heard that the ranch was going to be purchased from Cochrane, and it would be open to members of the church to go and buy certain areas there. And so Dad and Grandpa went out and found the area where the survey line would come from Glenwood west, and then another survey line north and south, and where the intersections where they established their land for the homesteading. And then they had to pay the church so much to buy it from the church. And some of them didn't pay. And I'm sure Dad paid it all, but I remember him saying that some of them didn't pay the amount that they should have in purchasing the land.
Was there any road there at that intersection, or was that just the survey lines where that intersect?
At the time, it was just a survey.
Okay.
But I remember young, it was a dirt road, no gravel on it, just dirt. So when it rained, you just didn't travel much at all. My earliest remember of the dirt road in the mud was Aunt Alice Fomer had a baby, and it'd be Hazel, wouldn't it? I think it was Hazel.
Okay.
And so Dad went to Cardston and picked her up and brought her to our home, and then we drove from there. I went with him down to Fomer's place, and it was all mud. And we slipped all over the road. It's amazing we ever got down there. But we finally got there and got her placed with her family. But I remember that part of it. It was terrible. It rutted. The ruts would get deeper and deeper. In fact, it wasn't. It was that way for many years before they got gravel on it. Once they got some pit run gravel in, it was a lot better.
Yeah. Now, from what I understand, Grandpa was pretty. Your father was very instrumental in getting the school built in Hartley. Tell me about that.
Well, I don't remember just what he did. I just remember that they said that he was the main one that pushed to have a school there at that area, and he worked hard to get the school there, and because of that, they suggested that it be named the Hartley area, and because he worked hard to get the school put in the area. So,
prior to that, what was the area called?
I don't know.
Part of the Cochrane Ranch?
Yeah, yes, I guess it was part of Glenwood. That's where we went to church. And I don't think they called it anything particular because
So it was the school, really, that put the name Hartley on the map.
That's right.
It was the school.
Their school, and then on the one corner was the chapel, a church house. On another corner was a store. Yeah. So right there was kind of the center of it. But
what are your memories of the store? Do you remember the store being built?
No, I don't.
So was it built?
Yeah.
Before you?
In fact, the first day I went to school, the daughter of the one who owned the store got, I think it was Donna and I, out there and took a picture of us against the background of the store. So that'd be my first day of school when I was 6 or 7, and before that I don't remember the store being built at all.
Do you still have that photograph?
I can't remember seeing it for a long time.
I would love to see that. I'd love to see that. Do you have any other photos of the church?
Yes, we have some photos of the church.
It'd be fun to see those and maybe take pictures of them.
Do you know where anything like that is, Mom?
That'd be fun. You don't have to do it right now, but I just thought that would be fun, because I know we have some pictures of the church with our family and the church in the background. It'd be fun to see if you have different angles and or the store, like you say. That's neat.
No, I just can't remember much about the store.
Who owned the store?
The first I remember is Stanford.
Okay.
J.L. Stanford.
Okay.
Did anybody own before that time?
J.L. Stanford, who was that related to Maureen's husband?
Well, I guess they would be.
Are they related?
His brothers would be Claude's father.
Okay. So Claude's father owned the store?
No.
Oh.
His uncle
His
owned
uncle.
the store.
Okay, so his father's brother.
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
At Stavely? No. Where'd they live?
I don't know, but that would be Jessie Stanford's father. She's here in town still.
But then they lived up there at, I think it was Stavely. Anyway.
So that's a topic I've never really asked anybody because I felt like it was kind of off limits. Some things I just kind of knew you don't talk about. Tell me about Claude Stanford. Because all I know is that Maureen was married at one time, and they got divorced, and the marriage didn't work out. Is there anything you can tell me about him?
He was a big man and he worked hard, but he didn't do too well financially. You know, he just didn't. He worked with his brothers in a sawmill up, I guess it'd be in the Livingston Range area. I remember he was about that type of a guy, big and burly and could work hard like that. But as far as farming, it's hard to get into farming because you got to have machinery and horses and everything, and they just lived on a quarter section, so they didn't have much. Okay. And I don't know, he was all right to get along with, but you know, as far as I know. Yeah. But he had a struggle each time.
What went wrong with their marriage? Do you know?
Well, I don't know. It kind of started back when he picked up a calf that he shouldn't have. And he spent time in jail because of that.
Okay. Grandma Hartley, your mother. Tell me some stories about her. What do you think of? What comes to your mind when you think of your mother?
Well, you probably know what happened when she was quite young and riding in a cart.
I do. I'd love to hear the story again, though.
They had those little, I don't know what kind of a buggy they had, but it kind of had a curved front on it. And they were coming to Cardston, and they were crossing the creek or crossing the river, I can't remember just what. And Mother was laying in the front in the part that curves, and they had one horse that was what you call a green horse, and it balked when they got part way across and started kicking. And Mother's head was kicked so bad, they didn't expect her to live. And Uncle Hugh, I don't know whether he did then or whether it was later, but he went off and prayed. He was close to Mother. Excuse me, I shouldn't talk.
I want to hear that.
Yeah.
Those are real.
But he said, if you'll spare Mother Remedia's life, I'll dedicate my life to you. And that's what he did. But it affected her smell. She couldn't smell anymore. Of course, Donna and I, we didn't know that she couldn't smell. And we'd go gather the flowers and bring them in, and Mother would pretend to smell them and be so happy. But we didn't know she couldn't smell. But she did live, and the doctor said she never would live or never be the same. But she didn't like the farm. She loved the city, and she loved plays, where they put on plays and that in those days a lot. And that was what she really liked to do. But Dad loved the farming so much, and he was so happy at the farm. And Mother had to do a lot of the cooking for all of the hired help, and she felt like she was just doing more than she could handle, really. And it was quite a chore, especially with the things that they had then. We didn't have any refrigerator, no electricity. We just had gas light and coal oil lights. In order to have an ice box, in the wintertime, we'd go over to Cochrane Lake and cut big squares of ice and bring them back to the farm, and then we had what we called an ice house. And we put the ice in there and cover it with sawdust, and put the ice in sawdust, and then have sawdust in there, insulated it. So we had ice for quite a bit of the summer. And using that ice to make ice cream and things like that was quite special. But that's the only, when they used the ice in on what they call a refrigerator ice box, a wooden box that wasn't very big, you know, like a fridge. And the ice would be set in the top and then keep it halfway cool anyway.
Yeah.
But it's quite a chore to keep the food.
So that ice house, was that buried underground, or was
No,
that above
just
ground?
above ground, yeah.
Above ground. So
Yeah.
ice and sawdust,
Yeah.
layers of
Yes, a lot of sawdust in it.
so you could keep that for a few months.
Yes,
in
it would.
summer.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. The ice would stay.
Yeah, because there's, I don't know, maybe 2 feet of ice, of shavings covering the ice.
Yeah.
And so it kept it pretty well. It was most of the summer.
That's something we just don't even think about these
No,
days.
you don't.
Yeah.
No.
We take for granted and just turn on the fridge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a long time before we had electricity.
Yeah. Speaking of ice cream, so you made ice cream sometimes?
We did, yeah.
What are some of the other fun things that your mother would make?
Well, if we got peanuts, we'd grind it up and have peanut butter. Our own peanut butter made, and she made dumplings and things like that. I can't remember all the things that she built, but she'd churn her own butter. And of course, we had eggs from the farm and chickens. We had quite a few chickens, and quite often we would have chicken dinners and that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you remember anything that your mother made that was your favorite?
No, not especially. I don't know.
I've heard stories about her bread.
She made good bread. That's for sure. I remember. I thought everybody made that way, but she did make good bread. I always loved that bread.
Well, tell me, what lesson or value did you learn from your mother? I mean, she taught you a lot of things, but is there something that you could sum up as something that really...
I guess she loved the plays and the poetry so much. I like poetry a lot. And in school, I memorized poems that I can still quote today. But I think that's the main thing that Mother would... I can remember standing by the stove and quoting things from plays that she had produced in the days past. So it's kind of special with her.
Yeah. I remember hearing stories that when she was younger, she was quite an actress.
Mm-hmm.
She would have the lead in plays. And
yeah, she loved that.
She was very talented.
Yeah. She missed that a lot when she was on the farm. Yeah. But in those days, they put on a lot of plays because that was only entertainment. Mm-hmm. You couldn't go to a movie very often, and there was nothing else to do except put on the plays in a church house, and so all the communities around would put on the plays, and everybody would go and support it. Yeah. And so that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about, what do you know about your mother and father, their courtship?
I don't know much about it.
Don't you?
Sorry, I just
okay.
don't.
I just wondered if you knew anything about how they met.
You know, a lot of those things I should have asked and found out, but you don't think of it when you're young until you get older, and then I was too late then.
Sure.
In fact, I should have asked them where they lived when Mother and her family was here in town. And
someone told me that it was down by Don Remington's house down there by the creek.
Now that could be, I don't know.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I don't know if Deb heard from someone or what, but you know where Don Remington's old place was, right there in the creek bottom. I heard that might have been the spot.
That might be.
So that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yes. What else can you tell me about your mother's life as far as well, maybe related to the church? What do you remember about your mother's testimony?
Well, she was Relief Society president for probably 2 or 3 times, and she had had some experience in nursing. So when any of the sisters in the area we were going to have a baby and couldn't get to the hospital, she was called on to go there and deliver the baby. And if there was sickness, they would usually call on Mother to come and help to get them well. And she also worked in a bank when she was younger. She said she remembered that when sitting at the till that she had a gun right there beside her.
Really?
In case somebody tried to rob the bank.
Think she ever used it?
No, not that I ever heard. But it's something that, for those days, it was so rough. Why they had something to protect themselves with.
Oh, that's fun.
But she missed the city life. Gilbert was born in Salt Lake City, I guess you know, and Mother loved the bigger cities and things that goes on there. Yeah.
Let's see. Do you know much about your dad's mission?
Not a lot. He didn't talk much about it. They decided that one of the families should go on a mission, one of the boys, and they decided that Dad would be the one to be called. And so he went to New York, and when they assigned him to an area, he went there, and his companion had been there for a while. His companion said, well, you go tract in this area, and he went in another area, and he was left on his own right from the beginning.
Really?
Yeah, so he had a kind of a rough time in his mission. That's all of them did at those times. And beyond that, I don't know a lot about his mission. It's just that
he spent a lot of time in New York City.
He did, yeah.
What do you think what do you think the shock was like for him?
I don't think he liked it. He just didn't like the city life.
Coming from Mountain View to go to New York City, it's a shock.
That's a big shock. Yeah, it's a big shock. Yeah.
I wish he was here to tell us.
Yeah, me too.
What that was really like.
Yeah.
I guess your father's parents, did he talk much about his mother and father?
No, he didn't talk much, as far as I know. I can't remember ever seeing them. Like you say, they probably died before I was born.
Yeah,
but
I think they died in 1923, both of them.
Oh,
in fact, Roy told me today that Grandpa told him that Hiram, your grandpa, was so concerned about Wealtha when she got sick that he devoted all of his energy to trying to help her get better and help her when she was struggling. And because of that, he actually died before she did.
Oh my goodness.
That's what your dad told Roy.
Oh.
I asked him today some questions. I didn't get the camera out. I wish I would have. But
I hadn't heard that. I didn't know that.
Didn't know that. Yeah, interesting, but quite an incredible story. The heritage of Ardell Hartley and his father Charles, and coming across the plains and all the way from England. Yeah, it's an amazing story. I can't wait to meet them and ask them questions. It's gonna be so fun.
They worked on the temple quite a bit, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And I remember them saying that they just had short-handled shovels.
Oh.
And some of them were tall and quite big, and so they had to bend over to use the shovel. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was quite hard on them to do that.
Oh.
And they hauled the gravel for the temple from Lee Creek up to the temple site.
Mm.
And so it was a long, hard job.
Yeah.
A lot of work to it.
Wow. Interesting. Well, Hiram was a stonemason like his father, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume he learned the trade.
Yeah, he must have done, yeah.
I wonder if he passed any of that on to his son Gilbert.
Not that I know of.
Did your father ever work with stone?
No.
No? Okay. So
just picking them out of the field.
Yeah, maybe that trade was just not necessary. And, I was just curious about that.
Yeah.
You think, father to son, but...
No, as far as I know, he didn't work any of the stones.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember hauling a lot of rock off the field. In fact, we found a stonehead hammer.
Oh.
It was just a stone about that big with a groove right around the middle where they'd attached it onto a handle.
Wow.
I don't know whatever happened to it, but
hammerhead, huh?
It was a fairly heavy one too.
Oh,
You thump him with that, it'd weigh.
That'd hurt.
Yeah.
You'd feel it. What about your mother's parents. What can you tell me about Romelia's mother and father?
You know, I know very little about them. I just don't.
Okay.
I
just wondered if your mother shared any special experiences or stories or.
Not that I can remember. I don't recall any.
Yeah. From what I remember, her father was kind of a stern man.
Yes, he was very
I
stern.
heard that he was very hard on the boys. And
yeah.
He.
I remember Mother saying that. Now you
physical.
mention it. Yeah.
And that was. But I think sometimes that was necessary back when they were breaking land and
rough and ready, and they had to be tough to survive.
Yeah.
And was he the one that lost a leg?
No, that was James S. Brown.
Oh, okay, you're right. That's right.
Grandfather. So that was Lydia Jane's father.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
He lost out on the hunting accident.
Because they were both Browns, right?
Yeah.
She was Lydia Brown and didn't have to change her name when she got married.
Right.
Yeah, but her father, James S.,
yeah.
that was in the Mormon battalion and then went to Tahiti on his mission, and then he lost a leg later.
Yeah.
I think in an accident up in the mountains outside of Ogden or something.
I don't know, just where they were hunting somewhere and someone shot at something and the bullet ricocheted.
Yes.
Yeah. Hit him. Yeah.
And then I guess he went on a mission even after that.
Yeah.
That's a guy that I can't wait to meet.
He did a lot of work. I think they said he served 15 or 18 missions.
Yeah.
Mainly stake missions. But
he was there when they discovered gold at Sutter's Mill.
Yeah.
He was quite a character. I've got several copies of his book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's one I have tried to collect.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
right.
That's a great book.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? What else can I ask? Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wanted to share?
Well, there's some things that Lowell did that, if you don't mind, I'd talk a little bit.
Yeah, I'd love to hear any other thoughts that you.
When the war ended, there was a lot of these airplanes that they had built to train the pilots. They were just basic airplanes, and so at the end of the war, they put them up for sale. You bid on them. So Lowell put in a bid, $50, and he bought an airplane. And I don't know where it was, whether it was in McLeod or whether it was in Lethbridge. But they had to go there, and then there was the motor right beside the main body, and then the wings out. And they had to saw off the wings, and then they sawed off the tail and put it into the back of a truck. And then they chained the thing to it and towed it home. And do you remember sitting in the yard?
I don't.
It sat in
hearing a story about this, though, but I.
It's sat just south of the house, where there's a raspberry patch there for many years. But Dad jacked the airplane up and took the two wheels off and got a pipe that just fit him and put it at the back of a wagon he pulled with the horses. And he had a nice rubber tired wagon back there for the horses. Big airplane wheels.
Cart.
Yeah. Big airplane wheels on it.
Oh.
It's quite nice, but I remember that wagon we used for years and years, feeding the sheep and the cattle and that.
Wonder whatever happened to that wagon.
I don't know. It probably just disintegrated. Yeah, I don't know which way it went, but when you go to feed the sheep, of course, there's loose hay, and you get it on there and throw it off the sheep, and if a sheep was on the opposite side of the wagon, you'd try to go under the wagon to get to the hay. And so some of them got run over with the wagon. So Dad took the sideboards and hinged them so that you could drop them down alongside the wagon so the sheep couldn't go under it. Do you remember it? And then you could feed them out and it didn't bother them any that way. But we used that wagon for a long time. Let's see, what else we did? Oh, you know that Lowell started an orchestra.
I remember hearing about it, but tell me about it.
Well,
I don't know the details.
He loved to play the guitar, and he just loved to music and sing. And he went over to a fellow in Winderville there by Cochrane Lake. That guy was musical too, and so they'd get together and they'd play. And then Lowell decided he's going to start an orchestra. And Iris played the piano, and Lowell played the guitar, Gary Hansberg played the accordion, and I played the drums. And so we played for dances.
Wow.
and at Hartley, at Glenwood, at Hill Spring, and Mountain View. In fact, we even went up to the pass and played for a dance up there in the rough and tumble lumberjack area. But we didn't make much money. I think he charged, I don't know, maybe $40, $50 a night. Oh. And so we'd have $10 or something each, and we was quite happy about that. Sure. I didn't know anything about drumming, but Lowell taught me to keep time. Yeah. I just pounded. He said, "No, you got to keep time." So I got the rhythm of it and played the drums there for that time. Wow. What was I going to tell you about?
I didn't know that you and Lowell were in a band together.
Yeah, we were.
You were in the orchestra.
For quite a few years there. Oh. We traveled around.
Do you remember any of the songs that you played?
Oh, there's Songs of the Ages.
Yeah, do you remember any of the titles?
Oh, can you remember any songs back then? Green Sleeves.
Okay. I
remember that one. And I'd have to think on that to remember any of the others.
Okay. Yeah.
He liked to go out and trap in the wintertime. Did you know he trapped?
No.
He'd go out and he set traps for mink and muskrats. He trapped muskrats by taking a board about that long, maybe 8 inches wide. Yeah. And he set a trap on each end of it and tie the trap to the board. And then the rats, when they get up on the board, would go to the end to jump off. And he'd catch them there, and then the trap would take them down, and then he'd gather them up and skin them out. And he trapped mink, muskrats, and skunks.
Skunks?
Yes. He trapped skunks. I remember, I don't know how long he trapped skunks, but I remember him trapping some. And to him, it didn't smell, because he'd around it. You know, he'd skin them.
Sure.
And to us that come, you know, when you come home or something, you could smell that quite a ways away. Yeah. But he made some money off it. Wow. Trapping these things. And rabbits, we'd shoot rabbits. Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, that's the main thing he did.
Wow. Thank you for calling. We're busy right now.
We used to have to haul water from the river west of where Danny Huntsberger lives now. So we take a wagon and put 3 or 4 barrels in the back and some wood lid somewhere on top of it and a team of horses and go down to the river. And we would back the wagon into the river so it's maybe, 2 to 2.5 feet deep. Are they running out of time again?
No, we're good.
We had an unusual way of filling the barrels. We had what they called the bundle fork, a 3-tined fork like that. Uh-huh. And we take a bucket underneath there, a 2.5-gallon bucket, and wire it to those 3 prongs. Then you back out into the river, and then you just like pitching a grain or hay or whatever. You'd bail the water out into the thing. And that, you wouldn't have to bail down to get the water and reach up to dump it. You just, with the pitchfork, pitch it into the barrel. And we'd load the barrel up and then there was quite a steep pull coming out of the river. And the horses couldn't make the complete pull without stopping. And so when they got tired out, one of us or 2 of us would jump off the back end, and we have blocks of wood, and we'd put it behind the wheels so that the wagon wouldn't roll back and the horses could rest. Okay. Then when they were rested and ready to go again, we'd pick the blocks up, throw it in the wagon, and away we go. But we hauled that water clear from there for drinking water. Wow. We had the irrigation ditch for washing, but not for drinking.
How many gallons would you have been hauling up that hill?
Well, that was a 45-gallon barrel, and we had at least 3 barrels. Yeah, so it's fairly heavy.
That's a lot of weight.
Yes, it was.
So no wonder the horses had to rest.
Yes, they did.
And so that would have been down by the oyster wall.
The oyster wall was a bit down further. No, it'd be upstream further.
Oh, upstream.
We, from Huntsberger's, it's straight through the river and down the hill. Stanford, that's where Stanford's lived. Okay. It's down on the river.
They did, okay.
And I remember, I think it was Lowell or Gilbert was driving, and I was sitting on top of a barrel, having a good ride up there. And the wheel hit a hole like that, and I went, and landed sitting down, and the wheel of the outfit come right against my back. I thought I was killed. I bawled and bawled. They took me down to Stanford's while I went and got the water. They picked me up and we came home. That's none the worse for wear, but kind of funny. I mean, complete somersault. Wow. Okay. I don't know if this next one is kind of a... When we bought the, what's called the Murphy place, okay. From Elmer Murphy and his, I can't remember his brother's name, but they had an electric fencer that ran with a 6-volt battery. And that thing could be cranked up to give you a pretty good jolt. Now this other Murphy, his son was quite a big kid, and he was about Lowell's age. And they had the fencer going on the fence there somewhere, and they were talking about, teasing each other, you hold it, no. And Lowell says, well, he says, sometimes green grass will transfer the electricity. So he took some green grass and he touched that wire with electricity. Then he let out a howl, he danced around, threw his arms in the air, and he just did a real show. And Spud Murphy, that was his name, Spud, laughed so hard, it just tickled him to death. And when he got through laughing, he had to go to the house and change his pants. And he laughed and laughed about that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Lowell thought it was a pretty good trick on him.
Yeah, that's good.
Now, I don't know whether he got this car from the Murphy field or whether he got it, I don't know where he got it. But he got a Model T Ford car, what was left of it. There was a radiator and an engine, no windshield, 2 fenders, and a frame back here, and a gas tank. And you sat on the gas tank to steer it. And there's nothing else behind it. And it ran, now you have a coil and you have a distributor that sends it to the, this had four cylinders, and it had a coil for each cylinder. Okay. A little block of wood like that up under the dash. And occasionally those things just wouldn't connect. You'd crank and twist, and then all of a sudden it'd connect and away to go. And one time we were trying to get it to run, we'd pulled it, we'd cranked it, we did everything, we were standing there cussing at it, and the thing started. One of those things must have connected, and the engine started. And we was talking to a mechanic that worked on those things. He says sometimes that guys would go to some place and shut off the engine, and that thing would be just ready to connect on one of those coils. And they'd come back and they'd turn on the key and the engine would start, just that quick. So it was unusual, the thing that he enjoyed that little car. He fixed it up. And we built a wooden platform for the back so that you could sit on the gas tank to steer it, and then several could sit around on the wooden platform. But what was unusual about it, and I've talked to other people about it, and they've never heard of it before, it had 4 pedals, and that was your gear shift. You ever heard of that before?
No.
Neither did I. But it had a lever here, and I can't remember if that was the brake or the clutch. I think it was the clutch. But you'd push it there, and then you push on this pedal, and that'd go ahead. And then you pull it back, and that'd go into the next gear. And then if it was rolling along, you press the other gear, and the wheels would turn backwards, because that was reverse. So you had those 4 pedals for the gear shifts, for the gears. And that was unusual about that car. That was old. And I'd never heard of another one like it before or after.
So it was just an abandoned car that...
Well, whether it came with the Murphy field, I don't know.
It might have just been on the property that you purchased.
Yes.
But you actually got it to run? And
oh, we ran all over the place with it. We'd get in that thing and go over to Cochran and go fishing.
Wow.
And come putting back.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. But, like you say, I see on many of these things, I don't know where they came from, but it was there, so we had fun with it.
Oh, fun. I've never heard that story.
Yeah.
So Dad he kind of got it going?
Oh, yeah.
Was it his car?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Grandpa didn't have anything to do with it. Dad wouldn't bother, and Gilbert didn't. But Lowell liked to tinker with those things. And he got that outfit going, and he ran it quite a while. And this was before he went on his mission. And then by the time he came back from his mission, I guess I'd kind of messed it up. But anyway, we didn't use it very much.
It became yours when he left.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's, I don't know, we drove that thing around quite a bit. It's amazing what we did with it.
That's fun.
Did you know that he had pigeons?
No.
Lowell's always tried to do something different.
Yeah.
And he went and got these, what they call tumbler pigeons. And the pig barn was there, it had a kind of an attic up there, well, it was second story up there.
Yeah.
And there was a good place for them. And so he went up there and built a little place for his pigeons. And he fed them until they knew that was home. Now they would fly, and they come along like that, and suddenly they tumble. And then they pick up and they fly again, and they come along and they tumble. Huh. They called them tumbler pigeons. Okay. And they did that consistently. Huh. But this was his specialty, his tumbler pigeons.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
So was that just kind of a hobby for
him?
him?
Yeah. He didn't sell them or anything, but I don't know where he got them from. Lowell was always talking to people, and he could talk the hind leg off a donkey, that guy. He got these pigeons and had a lot of fun with them, to watch them. Very unusual. They stayed around good, too. Yeah. Quite unusual. Oh, that's good. What else was I going to tell you about?
That's fun. Fun story.
But when Lowell was quite young, Mother told me this. We just had an outside toilet. Right. And there was a 1-inch board halfway, to kind of take you out there without getting muddy and that. Yeah. And there's a rainstorm coming up, and Lowell had to go out to the bathroom. He got partway up there, and the thunder hit and the lightning. And Lowell come scooting back to the house just a hollering, "The fender bit my ear, the fender bit my ear." Mother was quite tickled her to see him. Yeah.
So did he actually get hit by lightning?
No, it's just the thunder.
Oh, just the thunder.
Yeah, just the thunder.
Thunder bit my ear.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh.
That's funny.
Yeah, I told you about training the duck tumbler pigeon. Yeah. And Dad would raise chickens. And we had them out there in the pig barn because the pigs developed so much heat that it kept the chickens warm too. These little tiny chicks. Mm-hmm. We had them all boarded around there and fixed up. And Lowell said, "Hey, I found something really interesting." So he went in there and he had a string on the end of a little pole. And the end of that he had a knot. And he'd lower it down there where the chicks were, and they'd come and they'd peck at that. And you see how high you flip them up. A couple of days later, he says, "We better not do that again. Dad caught me at it." So that ended our fishing for chickens.
So Dad caught him doing that.
Yeah.
Knock it off, Lowell.
Right. Yeah. Leave him alone.
Was your dad, what kind of a disciplinarian was your dad?
He wasn't strict or mean or anything like that. He called us in the morning to go to work, and we get up and go do the chores, and that's what was expected of us. But he expected us to work, but he'd get after us if we didn't do it right. Hmm? Yeah. As you know, Grandpa had quite a voice to sing.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Tell me about that.
I don't know much about it, but he did sing. He had a very good tenor voice. And he played, what did he play? The trumpet?
I heard that he played the clarinet.
Maybe that was it, the clarinet.
The clarinet?
Yeah.
And a little bit of guitar? Do you remember him playing guitar?
No, I don't remember him ever playing guitar. Lowell.
There was some writing that I saw, and it said that he liked to play the guitar and play the clarinet, but I had never heard a story about him playing the guitar. But the clarinet, maybe then.
Yeah. But,
did you ever hear him play it?
No, I didn't.
No.
I heard him sing,
okay,
but I never heard him play the clarinet.
But his brothers were in an orchestra.
Yes, they were. Yeah.
Right?
Doss and
there's a picture
Charles.
of one of them in the card home.
Oh, yes.
One of, I can't remember which brother.
Oh, yeah.
One of the, was it Charlie?
Charles, yeah.
Charlie, yeah, it must have been him. He's in one of the pictures down at the card home.
Oh.
There's a Cardston orchestra, and it has Charlie Hartley playing the violin.
Oh, yeah.
So, didn't know if you'd ever seen that. Next time you're down at the card home, go take a look.
Oh, we'll have to go in there and take a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So he came from a pretty musical family,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. They got all the music, and I didn't get any.
Well, you were a drummer.
Well,
I learned that today.
I had to be told how to do it. Yeah. Oh goodness, I think I've about run out of things that we did.
Yeah.
We worked at the sulfur plant,
Okay, tell me about that.
Lowell and I.
When was this? How old would you have been?
Well,
It was after
he just came back from the east where him and his mother, your mother and him
Right.
lived.
They went out to Ottawa and
Yes.
Montreal for a
Yeah.
while,
Mhm.
and then they came back.
They came back, and
So he
then
had about 3 or 4 kids.
Yeah.
At that time.
hmm
And were you married?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
So you're probably newlyweds.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the farm just wasn't paying that much that you could pay us, and Dad said we're going to have to get some work somewhere. So we went up and got a job at the sulfur plant, and it was just common labor because we didn't have any trade. But we worked there. I worked there for perhaps a year. Did I, Hunt? Do you remember?
It wasn't that long. Yeah, that's probably about right.
Lowell worked there longer than I did. He got a job of going around testing for the air of the area.
Mm-hmm.
So his was a little easier after I got tired of it and left.
Yeah.
It was kind of unusual. I decided I'd quit. I just had enough. I didn't like the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And the foreman was a young guy. Not very, I don't know how come he was foreman.
Wow.
And Lowell was working in a ditch somewhere off there, and the guy went over and he says, your brother's gone. He was left. And Lowell grabbed his shovel and come up out of that shaft, that pit, and I guess the guy thought he was going to clobber him with it. He says, he quit, I didn't fire him. He was quite worried. But he was afraid that Lowell was going to hit him with the shovel.
Oh, that's funny.
But we worked there for a while, and of course we worked on the farm. And then, I don't know, things just divided from there.
Yeah.
Tell them about the time the buck bundled Lowell in the
Oh, we had a sheep shed out there. We'd put the sheep in at night too, especially at lambing time. And we'd have to take bales of straw in there spread because they keep them from getting too dirty. And Lowell was carrying this bale of straw, and he had overshoes on, but they weren't buckled up. He was carrying it along, and all of a sudden he was flying through the air. A buck had come up behind him and just hit him. And it hit him so hard, it took him right out of his overshoes. They were standing right there beside the bale of straw. and there he was, the other side of the bale. And that buck really hit him.
Buck just came out of nowhere, huh?
Yeah, I don't know why he hadn't been mean before, but I guess Lowell was bent over and he saw a good chance. He let him have it. It's funny, he hit him so hard it just left his overshoes right there. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
It was quite a bit of work to take care of those sheep and lambing time.
Yeah.
We'd have to get up several times in the night.
Would you?
The big problem was they were all together, and if you had twins and this one had twins, then the lambs would get mixed up.
Mm.
And you would smell that lamb if it wasn't hers, you'd bunt it away.
Mm.
And sometimes they wouldn't even claim their own if they didn't catch them and know which one went where.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite difficult. Sometimes you would have triplets,
Mm.
and they would have to decide whether it was all hers or whether another sheep had a lamb and they got mixed up.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to check them several times at night to try and find out the ones that belonged together. And then we had little pens off to the side of the shed. And if we get the right sheep, you could pick up the lamb and she would follow you. We'd take them over and put them in the pen, and then feed them from there until the lambs got big enough that they wouldn't stray from their mother that much. But it was a bit of work to take care of them.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's fun.
Lowell loved the shotgun hunting.
Yeah.
Ducks and geese and pheasants, partridges, everything like that. He loved the shotgun. And I used the rifle mainly. I like to hunt deer. So he didn't hunt too many of the deer. I can't remember.
Him being much of a deer hunter.
No, he didn't.
He liked the ducks and
Oh, he did.
partridge,
Yeah.
pheasant.
In fact, we ate so many ducks that I can't stand to eat ducky now.
Is that right?
The wild taste, I just can't.
Too much, huh?
Yeah, it's just too much. Somebody gave us a goose a few years ago. We cooked it and I couldn't eat it.
Couldn't do it.
No, I just couldn't eat it. It was just too strong. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wow.
Well.
What else? I'm trying to think if there's any other little things I can ask you. What I'd love to touch on any gospel lessons you remember from your mother or your father.
Hmm.
When did you develop a testimony of the church? Was it from your mother, from your father?
I guess from both of
on
them.
your own, or?
From both of them. I remember one year we had an early fall. Mm-hmm. We had combines then, and it would rain on Monday morning, and it'd dry out by Saturday, just about good enough to combine. And maybe you could combine a little on Saturday, and Sunday was dry enough to combine. Monday morning it would rain, and it did that for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And some of the farmers said, the ox is in the mire, we've got to have the grain, and so they harvested on Sunday. Dad says that grain will rot in the field before I'll harvest. He wouldn't touch it. So that's one thing he taught us.
Good man. The Sabbath day was important.
Yeah.
To him.
Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Yeah. Sometimes my friends and I'd sneak off on Sunday and go somewhere and go do something, shoot something. Dad had a 10-gauge shotgun.
Yeah.
And then you couldn't buy any 10-gauge shells.
Mm-hmm.
But a 12-gauge shell would fit in there kind of loose. Oh. But it would fire it. Okay. And so we'd take this 10-gauge shotgun and go ducking. Wow. It was double-barreled with those old hammer like that. And I remember shooting ducks with it. Wow. There was one duck coming flying across there, and I took a shot with a shotgun. And it spread its wings like this, and it coasted for quite a ways before it finally hit the ground. And when I dressed that thing out, it had pellets right in its heart. Wow. But it had gone that far. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
A 10 gauge, that's a pretty big.
Yeah, it is.
It's a big blast.
Yeah, it is.
Wow. There'd be nothing left of the bird sometimes.
Right, if you get in too close.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Boy. Let's see. Trying to think of any gospel lessons you can remember from your mother. Remember any stories or any impressions or things that really stood out as that you knew that she had a testimony that was an example to you or taught you?
Well, she told us about her experience of when she was injured, and her brother Hugh.
Yeah. Yeah, and you told that story.
That was very impressive. That he would do that, and that mother would recover, because the doctor said she would never recover.
That's a huge testimony builder.
Yeah,
right there.
it is.
What are your memories of Uncle Hugh?
We, when he'd come to visit, he usually fly into Lethbridge, and either Lola or Gilbert and I would go down to get him in Lethbridge. Then he'd start talking about his experiences here at the Cardston area. He was a lawyer, barrister. And one experience, he said, he was representing a man in court, and it was a fairly serious representation, quite a bit of money. And it went to the Supreme Court. And Uncle Hugh was supposed to be at the presentation in the Supreme Court. He didn't sleep all night long. He was just so worried. And when the other guy got up and gave his presentation, and Uncle Hugh stood up and he said, "I don't think it's worth the time of so high a court when the odds are so plain And the chief judge says, we think the same thing. You don't need to say anymore. And he won the case.
Wow.
He said he got $2,000 for that. And he said really, really happy with $2,000.
Oh, wow.
He lived in Lethbridge for a number of years. And that was at the time that the church was pretty looked down on in the Lethbridge area. They didn't like the LDS people. But he was stake president there. And I remember some of them, the area, saying that they had a terrible drought and they didn't know what to do in the spring, whether to even plant, because there was just no moisture. And Uncle Hugh said, plant your grain. And they did, and the rains came. And he was inspired to know that it would be the time to plant and take care of it. I don't know just how long he was stake president there. It was a while. And then he was LDS coordinator for the youth in the armed forces over in England. And I guess you know the story of the current Bush.
Yes.
And he said one time he was riding on the bus in England, and right to the other seat over there was a great big lady. And when they heard the sirens, they were supposed the bus would stop and everybody was to get on the floor. And the sirens turned on. And he looked at that lady over there. He said, oh boy, I gotta wait as long as I can. He waited as long as he could, and he flopped down on the floor and she landed on top of him. When she got up, she dusted herself up and she said, was I heavy, laddie? No.
That's a great story. Is that a story he told you?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Some of the stories I can't tell you.
Yeah. Oh, I think you should.
Yeah. One time he was going from one area to another area. It was an Air Force base. And he contacted the chaplain of that area. He's not LDS, but he told him he was going to hold a meeting for the LDS men. And when he got there, they started the meeting, and two of the men ran in with their suits on. And they just come back from a trip overseas, flight. They landed, heard of the meeting, and come immediately to it. The chaplain said, how do you do that? He said, if I had my men 6 weeks' notice, they wouldn't show up. But they came. And he would call on, this one, come up and minister, this pass the sacrament. You will talk, you will give the prayers. None of them had any warning of it. And one of the boys at the sacrament table, sorry, he was starting the prayer, and he stopped. Excuse me. He stopped, and he waited. And Uncle Hugh wondered, what am I going to do? And then the boy went in and finished the prayer. And after the meeting, he went up to the boy and he said, what happened? And the boy said, well, we were in a very bad situation over Germany. And it was touch and go. He said, when I got home, I forgot to tell my Heavenly Father thanks. So when he started that prayer, he had to stop and tell him thanks. He had some experiences like that. And then, I don't know, he probably read his book about her. A young boy asked him to come and administer to him. Do you remember that?
I'm not sure if I remember this one or not.
He was a major, and that's fairly good up in the Army. In fact, he was next to become a general. But this boy got in touch with him through some way, and he said he wanted to be administered to. So he thought, well, here's someone that wants me to do this for him and do that because I'm a major. So he went there, and he was, quite proud of this. And the boy said, My mother is a widow. He says, I'm the only one. Would you give me my life? And he prayed for him that he would go home. Would go home and take care of his mother. Uncle Hugh said, Heavenly Father honored that blessing. And he did. The boy was severely injured from that flight. But it's amazing the strength that he had. He was a great man.
He was. You know what? Could I ask you to just share your testimony? I'd just love to hear your testimony.
I don't know when I really gained a testimony. Perhaps it was strengthened the most when I went on my mission and had to be on my own and get out and do the things, and it's then that I really gained a testimony of the gospel, especially the Book of Mormon. And when Faye and I were called to go on a mission, I think it's to India. Well, it's a Singapore mission, actually. But I had a desire to read the Book of Mormon. I just had that desire there. And I kind of ignored it. And it came back again and again until finally I sat down and read the Book of Mormon. And that has strengthened my testimony a lot. But that was before we went on the mission. That was, I don't know, just a special time in my life that happened. And when we were in my mission field there, there's times I didn't listen. My companion and I were asked to administer to a man. He had a bad case of asthma. I was the senior companion. In fact, I think I was the district leader. And the thought came to me immediately, you will find the cure to your disease. My companion was the type that was a pushy guy. He wanted to be out front all the time. You know, he wanted to be the important one. And he said, I want to give the blessing. And I thought, well, I don't like to say, no, I'm the elder. I'll give the blessing. And I thought, well, maybe he's been inspired the same as I was. So I said, okay, go ahead. We didn't give the right blessing. I don't know what I should have done. I should have done something different there. I should have taken the brother and did something to give him the right blessing, but he didn't receive the blessing he should have had. So that's taught me there that I should have listened. Another time I was district leader in another area, and it was in a home, and the sister was a member, the brother wasn't a member. And I don't know, it was only maybe 8 or 10 altogether in that small branch, and we changed the branch presidency. And I was to conduct the meeting and change the branch presidency and all the other things to be carried on. Towards the end of the meeting, the thought came to me, ask if there's somebody else that has something to say. And I thought, well, everybody's had something to say. You know, what can you do? So I asked the closing of the meeting. Afterwards, that non-member came up to me. He said, I wish you'd let me talk. He said, I'd like to express my appreciation to the missionary couple that worked here. I just didn't listen. Sometimes you learn, sometimes you don't. But I do have a testimony of the gospel, especially the prophet Joseph Smith. He went through so much. He was a wonderful man. And to go through what he did and to stand firm and strong in the testimony that his Heavenly Father lived in Jesus Christ, and to translate the Book of Mormon is just a monumental, tremendous thing. And I don't know what I'd do without the gospel in my life. I don't know where I'd be. I'd probably be in some city with the other guys in the Skid Row. I don't know. I wonder at times. But anyway, I do have a testimony of the gospel. And there's been times when I've listened to the promptings. One time in Minneapolis, my companion and I decided to change area. I know we were renting a home here. We decided we'd go into this area and we'd go and find a place to stay. So we went out and we looked at the numbers on the street and we said, well, let's go to this one. And I think it's the third house we knocked at. The lady said, yes. She said, I have a room that I will rent out to you. And she became a member of the church just because we were going to change, and there was a prompting. And I was transferred before, in fact, just a few days before we was going to move. But the other missionaries taught her, and she joined the church. So occasionally, yeah. Anyway.
Some good experiences.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
Especially when we were on the mission together in India.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were teaching a man who was a Hindu. Well, I guess he was a Christian then. He joined the Christian church. What was his name? Thangaraj, that was it. Mm-hmm. And a member of the church just joined not too long ago, brought him to us. And we were teaching him. And he said, I've noticed in the Old Testament that Heavenly Father does things by seven. 7 is sacred. The earth was created in 7 days. It will stand for 7,000 years. There's 7 days of the week. And he says, and there's 7 archangels. He said, I can only get the name of 6. And I've written to every Christian church that I can, and I cannot find the name of the 7th archangel. And so we said, well, maybe we can find it. We went home and got Mormon doctrine and looked it up, and there was the 7 archangels listed. And he was so happy to think that we could give him the name of the 7th archangel. He was real tickled.